Welcome, everyone. We're back here for another episode of Adventures in Business. Mandy, we're here.
Hi.
A little bit rainy here on the West Coast, isn't it?
We are not allowed to leave our houses. There's a flood warning where I am right now.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just light rain where I am, so not so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah. It's flood. We got the
Um,
whole alarm. The alarm went off. It was
oh, wow.
exciting.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
intense. That's intense.
Super
Okay.
intense.
Yes. I want to kind of first ask you any highlights from your weekend, then we'll get to our guest because I'm super excited about our guest today. What was your highlight for the weekend?
Well, my highlight for the two highlights. Two highlights. My little sister and brother-in-law were in town from Ohio, and they are super fun, great hang, great humans. But they were in town for my husband's 50th birthday celebration, and we party for him. Not a big party, just a very small, like 20 people get together. And the theme was "Come as you are, dot dot dot, if you were Scooter." And
Oh,
so people showed up with pink sunglasses, fake furs, fake watches. They showed up in Italia jerseys. It was so fun. Everybody understood the assignment. He was so happy. And Scoot's a little grumpalumpicus sometimes. So for him to be permagrin all weekend was
mhm.
amazing. So that was my highlight.
All right.
What
Good.
about you? What was your highlight?
My highlight this weekend, I would say, it was a pretty chill weekend. So just resting, watching football, had some good football games. That was probably the highlight. Just chilling, watching football. I don't think I did anything too crazy. So yeah, we're good.
Awesome.
Shout out to Laura Buckholtz who's in the chat there. So thank you for being here.
Hey,
Um,
Laura. Good to see you.
let's talk about our guest today. I'm gonna let you introduce her, but kind of talk to us about Erin, and then we'll bring her on and we'll get to our conversation.
Well, this is going to be a quick introduction because she's on fire in person.
Yep.
And we are just really, really lucky because Erin King is one of the top 10 keynote speakers that you can hire for your meeting, your conference. She is a multi founder of several companies, lots of highs, lots of lows. We'll talk about that. She's a multi book author, a best selling author, and she's an expert in digital persuasion, energy management. She's teaching herself and her team to be an expert in AI. But I think most important, she is the mother to her beautiful little fur baby, Miss Betty White. So let's welcome Erin King to the
All right.
stage.
Round of applause there. There's Betty White.
Here she is. Hi,
Oh my
Betty.
goodness.
Hi, Erin.
Hello, Mandy and Monty. So good to see both of you. This show is legit, and I am really pumped to be here. So, hello, LinkedIn.
Yes, we're here. Hello. We kind of start off, we go back and forth. We'll ask some questions about where you are now, kind of
Yeah.
where you came from. My question for you is if you look back at 2023, what was your top professional highlight?
Ooh.
I have an
I
idea
would,
what it might be, but I'm gonna let you answer.
let me hear what you think first.
Because weren't you on a stage in front of like 30,000 people?
Uh-huh. I sure
Was,
was.
was that the highlight? Because I'm thinking,
You know what, Amani, you're so sweet. First of all, thank you for being aware of what I did last year because that's so kind. Um, It was pretty cool. It was the Astrodome in San Antonio, and it was a lot of people, but that actually was not the highlight for me of 2023.
all right.
The highlight for me of 2023 was, as Mandy mentioned, I have been teaching a lot of different topics. I've been teaching social media and AI, digital persuasion, sales and communication, and big deal energy. And so it was basically in April, and I had given 7 different keynotes in 10 days.
Wow.
And I was on a call with my team the week after, and I had a full on like collapse, go to the ER, panic attack. I went to the hospital. And
Hmm.
it was this really scary moment. I woke up and I realized it was one of those times where life just punches you in the face and tells you, like, hey, the body's keeping a score. You are not focused. Just because you can do everything doesn't mean you should. So let's really recalibrate. Let's get some focus. Let's get a game plan. Let's start saying no and really double down on the best way that you can serve with what you know. So it was actually a really like huge wake up call. If anyone's had that like come to Jesus bathroom floor hospital moment, whatever it is for you, it really does change the way you think about your business. And it was really scary at the time, but fast forward like 7, 8 months later, 9 months later, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was able to really streamline my company. We got
Mm,
rid of old keynotes, old IP, and now we're just laser focused on this new research study, which is all about specifically scientifically based, data backed. How can you power up your personal energy early and often on an everyday basis besides the obvious? So
mm.
that's our laser focus. It's been really exciting. And if it hadn't been for that valley, I don't think I would be at this kind of energetic peak right now. So weirdly, the biggest failure of
Mm.
2023 was my biggest win long term. So if someone listening right now is having one of those, oh my God, it's only January and I'm already getting the drownies, I'm already getting the like shallow breathing eye twitch. Fear not, friend. Take a deep breath because whatever you're moving through right now might seem like a low, but looking back 9, 10 months later might actually be your high.
All right.
Yeah, and I first of all, I'm sorry that happened, but I'm really happy that happened because you don't know where you can go until you sort of hit that bottom. I was diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about this a lot on the show. I was
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder in 2015, and I had that fall in the hallway on the ground, multiple ER
Mm.
moments, and you don't know until you know, right? So I want to
Mm-hmm.
ask you, so
Yeah.
I'm 9 years later in this adventure. For you, having this be within the last year, I'm sure you listen to your body so much differently now than you may
My
have
God.
before. So, like, what are your personal pink flags? What
Mm.
are those things that come up for you that you were like, I probably ignored those before. I'm paying attention now. And then how do you redirect yourself when you
Mm-hmm.
feel those pink flags?
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but as we said, like those challenges, those moments are what make us be the calm, present, hopefully highly effective partners for our clients and our customers. I mean, the people that I'm coaching now, I have so much more empathy for them. I have so much more understanding for
Mm.
the valley they're walking through, and I think it's made me able to step into a juicier, meatier level of service. So I'm so grateful for it long term, as I'm sure you are as well. And Amani, I'm sure you have a story of your own in this facet, and I want to hear that in 1 second. Um, but so when we think about the pink flags, I mean, ultimately for me, it's listening to myself when I'm using a phrase that is less than optimal. So for me, my phrase of 2023 before the big scary day was like, just have to get through this. Like I'm
Mm.
talking to my team, talking to my clients. Okay, yeah, we have to just get through this. I have to get through this talk, get through this presentation, so you need to get through this meeting. I was getting through my life. And it's like, where you going? Where you trying to get to? Where's well magical end game that you're going to share with the rest of the world? And so it was getting through versus being in it. And so for me, obviously the somatic signals were really strong. I mean, I had shallow breathing, I was losing hair in the shower, I felt like my heart racing. I had a
Mm.
problem swallowing. Like it was physical shutdown. So that was insane. But in 2024, besides, I had not had any of the physical symptoms at all since I decided to do a full on reset. I mean, I went away for 6 months, no social media, no email marketing,
Mm.
literally like dove into the research, dove into the research team, spent time with this content, like using my own advice, trying things, working with clients for free, trying out strategies and methods with them to see how this actually impacts their productivity and their positivity. So it was a full on reboot. Like it was intense. But what I noticed for 2024 is when the language is like, okay, yeah, well, that'll work. We have to just get through that thing on the list. I immediately am moving it to 2025. I moved it
Mm.
to get through. It's 2025. So it's a be in energy that we're bringing to all. We have a big launch coming up in March. We have a new keynote we're launching in 2 months at the Direct Selling Association. So we have all this amazing stuff going on, but it's hyper focused. It's laser clear, like the message, the mission, who we're serving. And I would just say that for people that are watching this, if they work in corporate, where it's like, Erin, that's lovely for you that you could just like stop for 6 months and have a sabbatical and like fix your life. What I've learned is that that was just the beginning. So for me, it's been these everyday micro adjustments to how I'm managing my people and my projects that really has made the difference over time, even more so than the big like 6-month kumbaya find my life kind of situation. So even if you are in corporate and you can't like pull the plug and pause on everything, there are like 3 key areas that I have been experimenting with that have changed not only my business, our bottom line, but even like my Whoop numbers on my data stuff. Everything's up in the green. Everything has changed. It was all in the red this time last year. So there's a lot going on here that's been kind of meta because I'm learning it as I'm living it, as I'm teaching it, which can be tricky, right? Because you guys know, like we teach from scars, not wounds. And so I'm like, it's a baby scar. Like it's a pink, just healed scar. So I'm fully transparent as I'm sharing what I know. I know this to be true in the last couple of months, but I'm still sort of on a learning journey with it, which I think my clients are finding kind of refreshing in a way. It's not so much like sage on the stage, I have all the answers, but it is a little bit more guide on the side. Like I've tried a couple things and this is what has worked for me dramatically. Give it your own spin. So it's been a pretty cool experience.
Oh my God, all those rhymes. I love it. And I think that's a really good point about the micro lessons, the micro actions, because I think somebody had told me, this is again back in 2015 or 2014. I had a doctor tell me, like, if you don't make time to figure this out, your body is going to make time for you, and it's going to be very inconvenient. Like, you might inconvenience yourself a little bit now to make time for this, but if you don't, your body's going to inconvenience you in a very big way. So I love making your suggestion of making micro adjustments. That's really important for people out there. Okay, quick follow-up question. And then Amani, I promise I'll pass the wand back to you.
I know, Amani's like, I have a story too.
I know he does. Okay, so your personal battery. So what do you do to recharge your personal battery? And what suggestions do you have for people to find what their personal battery charging system is?
Yeah, great question. So the idea of a personal battery is deeply rooted in psychological studies and science. That's not mine. That has been done by multiple psychologists over the years. Part of my learning journey has been, I have read every single academic paper, every single study, the top 25 like science-based assessments around what is human energy has been a big part of my journey. So I've learned a lot of psychology in addition to actually commissioning my own study that we're in the middle of right now that will have the results in the next like 6 to 8 weeks. More on that soon.
Cool.
But so when we talk about someone's personal battery, I use the analogy of like the red, yellow, and green only because of the Whoop, the phone, it's relatable. So obviously, when you're in the green, that's your big deal energy. Like you're untouchable, you're unstoppable, you're on fire. There's no reason why you should be as energized as you are because you haven't slept and you went out with friends the night before and you've been working like a dog, but you are just on fire for life because you are living in alignment with who you are meant to be. That's the green. The yellow is actually more of a normal default setting. That's more of a factory installed setting where you are, you are doing you. You're time blocking, you're getting things done, you're feeling efficient, you're feeling productive, you have good morale, you feel connected, you feel like you're of service, you're not stressed out, you're not high on life, but you're not stressed out. You're just kind of like, I'm good. Like kind of that head nod, like I'm feeling good about life. The red is the area that we've been talking about. Anxiety, panic attacks, depression, apathy, indifference, burnout, or even the verge of burnout, seeing burnout coming and not knowing how to stop this wave from crashing on your head and taking you down. So when we think about our personal battery and how we charge it, psychologists have found that really there are a couple different ways where we can really analyze whether we are draining or filling our personal battery. And it really comes down to 3 key areas. So the first area that you want to ask yourself is when you're looking at your life, personally, professionally, your friends, your family, your teams, you want to ask yourself, is what I am focusing the majority of my time and energy on, do I feel that I have some sense of control over how I'm being there, how I'm showing up, the parameters around which I'm engaging and operating? So control is an illusion. We know that. But it's this sense of agency. It's a sense of autonomy. It's a sense of doing things on your terms. Because without that sense of control, that's where it's the fastest, slipperyest slope. If you're in corporate, or if you're an entrepreneur, if you feel like you're at everyone else's beck and call and you're just being dragged around, that will drain your battery from green and yellow to red faster than anything. The second area you want to ask yourself is looking around, do I feel a sense of competence? Like,
Mm.
do I feel that I am doing something that it's challenging, but it's achievable and it provides immediate feedback? And that's the key to being in what we call flow state, right? People call it being in flow. Being in the flow state is doing something challenging but achievable with immediate feedback so that you can tell, yes, and I'm not overskilled where I'm bored. I'm not underskilled where I'm overwhelmed. So it's that beautiful balance of finding that flow where you're asking yourself, am I spending time as much as I can possibly control in places and people where I feel competent, where I feel good at what I do? The third area is, am I feeling a sense of connectedness? And this is your industry. I mean, this is the events business. This is social media. This is LinkedIn. This is real life. I mean, I'm actually having a business lunch this week in person. I had a business conversation in a real conference room last week, and I am still high on life from it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, thank God we got on Zoom for once. Like that sense of connectivity is so huge. There's an idea, or they call it basically like positive affect, AFFECT. Psychologists call positive affect with an A. And positive affect is like the highest version of personal energy. That's where your battery is fully charged and you're able to switch back and forth between being focused on yourself, which is normal, but also being able to quickly pivot to worrying about others, listening to others, connecting with others. That's where we have our generosity, our social responsibility, our kindness, our empathy. That's where all the good in the world comes from, is a sense of connectivity, and much of the bad is a lack of that. So control, competence, and connectivity are the three questions you want to ask yourself to kind of do sort of like a charger check, or a vibe check. Like how am I scoring in those areas? Am I red, green, or yellow? And then from there, you start to make decisions, micro choices, where it gets you out of this feeling of like, I'm so tired no matter what I do, and into a space of aliveness and radical presence. So that's kind of where you want to start with the battery conversation.
Love it. The 3 C's. It's good stuff.
Thank you for explaining. I want to kind of go back to something you said in the beginning. Also, Mandy, I'm not sure if you know, but both Aaron and I are born and raised in Maryland. That's number one. And we both played Division I sports. Aaron was lacrosse. I was soccer. So keep that in mind. How did you have the courage to look at your business and trim it down from going from 7 keynotes to something less, when there could have been a fear of you're going to miss out on certain opportunities to speak and miss out on revenue?
So it was life and death. So that's the beauty of the ER, right? It's like you're like, I don't have a choice.
Good job.
But there's a reason that it's really, really hard. Like right now, I have my entire sales team. We have been, knocking on doors and smiling and dying, because when you go away for 6 months to study and to learn and to reinvent and to relaunch a brand new brand, we created a whole brand new keynote that we launched at IMEX in November. It was like standing ovation from all the tough cookie meeting planners, which was like huge validation moment, because I'm like, I'm trying to take energy away from the woo woo and into the workplace. I think, and I can talk more about why I believe that to be so important right now in a second. But to answer your question about speaking, Amani, there's this moment where you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, so if I keep going down this path, it's more of the anxiety and the stress, and no amount of money is going to make it go away, because we've all had that big year. We made the most money ever and we were freaking miserable. So it just doesn't, money is not going to make it better. Or over here, it's scary to pivot. It's scary to say, I'm not doing these 7 keynotes, I'm doing 1. And we had to call every single speakers bureau, every single client, and have them pull down all of our old books, all of our old stuff. And we just basically said, like, this is our new platform. But the crazy thing is, and this is really, as all of us, all 3 of us are keynote speakers, I think that because our brand is so important to us, we spend a lot of time, more than the average bear, really thinking through, how do we show up? How do we serve? How are we known? What expertise and value can we truly offer the marketplace? And so what's interesting about that conversation is that we forget that we are just one of like 800,000 keynote speakers in the world. We are one of 800 billion people in the world. And we think that when we do a rebrand or we slash keynotes, because it's our whole world, we think that all of our meeting planners and all of our clients are going to be like, what? You can't do this to us, right? No one does that. They're like, cool. Okay, this is your new thing. Awesome. Because they're not really, yes, meeting planners, meeting pros. Yes, they're like, we have this problem. We want this kind of speaker. But I believe the industry is evolving from, okay, which drop down box are you on a speakers bureau, into more of, the person on stage, the way they're able to engage energetically and have an interaction. I mean, some of the world's smartest speakers that have fantastic content will put you to sleep, or their ego will just make it not even worth dealing with them, or their demands are notorious where it's just bad vibes. Like, your event team does not need that crap. There's a million reasons that a keynote speaker, even if their topic is phenomenal and they're brilliant and they have sold their company for $1.5 bajillion, there's so much more, I believe, that we can do to stand in service of the audience beyond that. So, to land the plane, long story long, the way I look at it is, I really believe that as a speaker, you have to have such intense congruence with your topic, such a personal passion, and you have to be coming from a place of really serving the person that you used to be. And that's Rory Vaden, Brand Builders Group. If you guys don't know him, he does a great job with this. He talks about serving the person that you used to be. And I used to be someone that allowed everything coming at me, saying yes to everything. I landed in the hospital. Now I am like the queen of no. I am laser focused. I'm having more fun. And truthfully, we haven't gotten pushback. We raised our fee, have not gotten pushback yet. Knock on wood. Now we probably are, now that I'm jinxing myself. We haven't gotten pushback. We're getting booked out, and people are stoked because they're following my lead. I'm stoked, so they're stoked. You're stoked, they're stoked. It's emotional contagion. It's, the vibration that you're putting out there about your new topic. People are going to be like, I don't know, but this feels good. Like, nobody even knows what big deal energy is. They're just like, I want that. That sounds good. We want some big deal energy. They don't even know what it is, but they're like, yeah, that sounds good. So I would just say, if you're thinking about pivoting or slimming down your offering or streamlining your speaking business, whatever narrative that you're creating in your mind about how the market's going to react, from my personal experience, it's not particularly rooted in truth and reality for the most part.
Excellent. So a couple follow-up, one or two follow-up questions. First of all, I just joined the Brand Builders Group in January with Roy and
AJ.
Good. So yes.
Aren't they great?
Yes, phenomenal
work.
Oh
my gosh, they are great.
The next question.
Shout out to Kristen and Amy. Go ahead.
For
Kristen and Amy.
Kristen and Amy.
Continuing along the theme of courage, I know that in the past year and a half or 2 years, you attended therapy for the first time. How did that change your life?
Well, I definitely was someone, I'm ashamed to admit, that I didn't really understand the value of that. I grew up in sort of like rub some dirt on it kind of family on the East Coast. I don't know if anyone else listening grew up in a family, where it's like, don't complain, just kind of suck it up, Sally. Like, I remember we were kids, and my mom and dad, I love them so much. They are amazing. They're not on LinkedIn or social media, so I don't know why I'm trying to like backpedal, but let's be real. We were growing up, and they were so intense. They'd be like, okay, if you guys are complaining, like, we will get in the car right now and we will drive to Johns Hopkins, like, children's like cancer center, and you will see how lucky you are, which is like so intense and crazy to like repeat that. But that's kind of the house we grew up in. It's like, you are blessed, you are lucky, say thank you, God, and move on. And so therapy is not something that my family was ever into, or me. And I'll never forget, I was on a couch in doing a podcast interview, and across from me in the chair was Lewis Howes, and we were doing an interview for my podcast for Success Magazine. And he was asking me these really deep, like Lewis Howes, greatness, whatever, school of greatness question. He like kind of looks through you. Yeah. He's like looking into my soul, right? And I'm like, I'm the interviewer. I'm the you guys. He's the me. And I'm like, he's just so good at his job. He looks right at me and he's like, what level of peace would you say that you feel right now?
Oh.
And I had just had my makeup done and my spray tan and my white outfit. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to start crying. Like, and I'm doing like the thing where you try to tip the tears back in your eyes, and you're doing like this one, like, no, because you're like, the mascara cannot come down. I cannot like get the spray tan through this white suit all over this white satay in front of this entire crew. So it was not a cry moment, but I almost did. And I was like, it has been a really tough couple of months. And I said, what about you? What's your level of peace? He goes, well, I go 1 to 10. He's like, well, it used to be lower. He said, but I started talking to a therapist, and now I can say I'm at like probably an 8 or a 9. It really changed my life. Now I think he's actually a spokesperson for a therapy app or something that I see in my newsfeed. Yeah. But he was the one who encouraged me to go. I made an appointment the next week. I go once a month for like an hour. And there's just something to acknowledging that we don't have it all figured out, particularly as personal development junkies. Like,
Mhm.
we've read all the books, we've interviewed all the people, we follow all the personalities. You can read every meme Instagram will offer you, but it is not going to replace a medical professional who is trained to help you evolve your irrational thoughts into rational ones. That cognitive behavioral therapy is always going to outperform any amount of self-service that you do. It's great to start, but you do have to call in the pros when the stakes get high. And for me, I mean, it was like the worst 6 months. I had my someone in my family got diagnosed with something very incurable and progressive. My dog, who was love of my life, Betty's sister Stevie, was hit by a car. It was super traumatic. My two
Oh.
best friends moved away. My very best girlfriends. My business from the pandemic was still not really recovering. My husband made this terrible investment, lost 2/3 of our net worth. It was like boom, 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 just like life, just holding you down like a set of waves. Have you ever had that moment where even someone who's high vibe like me, as a motivational speaker, it can take you down so fast and you cannot even serve, you cannot even breathe, you can't even see. And if you're in that situation, yes, do the work, but also call in the pros. I
Mm.
mean, it has been so life changing for me. It's expensive, it's annoying, especially if you're having a good day and you see the thing on your calendar where you're like, oh, I'm actually having a good day. Like, can we just I'm good, right? You're like, I don't want to talk about that crap. It's exhausting. It brings you down. But Lewis actually had a really good piece of advice. He was like, Erin, he said, what I do is I pay for it a year in advance so
Mhm.
that I have to do it. Is that what you do, Amani?
Yes,
Do you?
yes,
Mhm.
yes. I love
I mean,
it.
it's expensive. It's brutal. Like, you're like, oh my God, but that way you can't wiggle out. It's like going to the gym. You can't be like, it's like you pay for the membership, you got to show up. So I'm a big proponent of it for sure. And I think any of us who work sort of on that border where we're not licensed medical professionals, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, but I do operate in the personal development space where we sort of the lines do blur a bit in terms of how we're able to serve people, what we're talking about. And so for me, I look at it as 50% patient, 50% research as well, to best understand how I'm thinking through as best I can these concepts. But I think if you're a keynote speaker or a thought leader, it's really important for you to sort of know in your body of work, like in your IP, your content pillars, to know where you're speaking from experience and to know where you don't have the experience.
Mhm.
So I have a really clear column where it's like Erin King has lived these experiences. And yes, I just talked in the third person, but like Erin King has these experiences. But then I also have a list of concepts that I would not touch with a 30,000-foot pole in a million years because they are beyond my pay grade and beyond my lived experiences. And I think
Yeah.
making that delineation as a pro, as you're showing up, people are trusting you with their time and their heart and their feelings, is extremely important to be able to serve with integrity.
I love that you're honing in on niching down, niching up, just niching in general or niching. People call it whatever they want to call it. But it is so many people say yes to all the speeches and all the content, and you're not doing yourself or your attendees a favor. So I love hearing that.
Mm-mm.
I have a quote. I heard you say this quote before, and I think it's more relevant now than ever before. And I'd love for you to explain it, where you say, the leaders of the future need to double down on delegation. So, what do you mean by
Mm.
that? And what advice do you have for, you've done all the research, you've interacted with the leaders, you
Mm.
are a leader. Like, how do you mean double down on delegation? What are a couple tips there?
Well, you're sweet to pull that quote because it really is, I think, one of the most important lessons that I have learned, especially in the last couple of months, but also my really highly performing C-level clients that I coach. This is what they're talking about because it was the quote that you're bringing up is in context around the age of AI and automation, which I know everyone's sick of talking about AI, but it is the future of work. We are entering the fourth era of work, industrial revolution, digital, and now age of AI. If you think about it, the delegate to double down concept is huge because if you are a high performing leader or just a high ambitious achiever in general, we are entering a space where we only have three remaining edges over technology, automation, and robots. We have our emotional intelligence, so things like empathy and intuition. We have our creativity, and we have our ability to be adaptable. But other than that, when it comes to how we are being productive, offering value to our organizations, and operating huge companies at scale, we don't have the edge that we used to have. And so if you sort of couple that with like the heavy times we've all experienced collectively, and then for some of us going through heavy seasons like the one I just described for myself personally, when you look at all of this, it's like as leaders, we only have the option to be crystal clear when it looks at like the mission. What are we delegating to AI so that we can double down on our emotional intelligence or our energy? I mean, if you think about sort of this wave that's coming for us. I mean, we can't see around the bend, but everyone is a little sweaty. Like Google just laid off another round of engineers that developed the AI. So they essentially engineered intelligence that wiped out their jobs. So we are, and it's starting with Google. This is just the beginning. And so as leaders, we have to know this wave is coming for us. And that's why I'm so passionate about this topic of energy management, of having a methodical system to uncover like what personally energizes you, because it's contagious, it's better for productivity, for morale, but ultimately we also don't have a choice. Like we cannot outperform robots in any other way than with the energy we bring to the table. And not just any energy, because we've all seen people that have plenty of energy, but it's unproductive. I am talking about like best version, highest vibrancy, vitality, energetic you as a leader. Delegating anything that your team is working on that a robot can do faster, as fast as possible, and then empowering your teams, empowering individuals to surface where they shine energetically. And that's kind of what this whole new body of work is all about, because, you know, not everyone brings the same kind of energy to the table. Like, I don't drink coffee, but I'm naturally pretty high vibe, but I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't have yogi high energy, because yogi high energy is a calming energy. You know, then you have that grounding energy, like the gal that runs my sales team, Sarge, you know, Sarge. Ashley, she has a very grounding, like mama's got it kind of energy, right? Then my husband, you know, he's the innovator, he's the programmer, he's the engineer. He has the, this seems complicated, but I can figure it out. Don't worry, energy. We all bring a different vibe to the table, but we have to, as leaders, make sure that we are creating enough space for our teams to be able to identify where we shine energetically, be able to create the space that we have the control, the competence, and or the connectedness to really nurture it. And then finally, that we are able to delegate anything that a robot can do faster than us, because if a robot can do it faster, our competition has access to the exact same tech stack. And so the edge is getting dulled, but not if we are intentional about sharpening what we can double down on. So that's kind of why this body of work is so relevant and so timely. And what I'm hoping to sort of bring to these audiences, to be able to help them figure out, like, beyond wellness, beyond green juice and yoga and walks, like I call it the duh, right? So it's like diet, unwind, hydrate, like eat clean, sleep, drink water, but I'm talking about beyond that. Like, how do you contribute your energy and get energized? How do you charge mentally, creatively, spiritually, socially? This is beyond the duh. So this isn't a wellness conversation. This is about managing your energy a little more like you manage your time or your money. And this is your most precious asset. It's a precious resource. And yet we're so intentional about budgeting and auditing our time and money, and not as much about our energy, because it's been sort of a complicated topic in the past. But I think it's beginning to move at lightning speed into the workplace in ways that we can't even imagine, which is both scary, but also kind of exciting. So
yeah, love that. It's good
Love
stuff.
We are now to the point in the show where we flip the script and you can ask both Mandy and myself a question, any question. Nothing is off limits. So we'll let you know that. And who would you like to ask the question to first?
Amani, my question for you. My question for you is, when you are feeling like your battery is in the red or maybe the yellow, besides doing something physical, so besides like sleeping, eating, going for a walk, how do you charge your personal battery to be able to show up, whether it's a high stakes moment like a keynote, or to be able to be more present in your everyday experiences, either personally or professionally?
So I would think the first thing that comes to mind is like journaling, kind of writing it out and talking it out. But really journaling, I think that would be what I would do, have a good set of prompts that I'll use to really kind of get me out of my own head and try to raise my energy that way. So in addition to what you mentioned, like walking around, sleeping, listening to music also, but I think journaling is the one thing that I do and will try to do more of that can help kind of raise my energy level.
Yep. Yep. How about you, Mandy?
Oh, I do the things. I do I do the walks, I do the drinking water. But I think beyond that, what I've learned about myself is to find a quiet space. And it's not always an actual physical quiet space, because silence for me is very recharging, but it's also a quiet space, meaning I'm not going to check email as much that day. I'm not going to get back to everybody on text messages that day. I think we invite noise in so many crazy ways that I just try and
Mm-hmm.
find a way to get as quiet as I possibly can. And like you said earlier, say no. No is a complete sentence. But I'm really firm on setting boundaries that day or that week or that month or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
good.
What do
Yeah.
you do?
Well, for me, I am really, really big on, I like to do mindfulness.
Mhm.
So multitasking mindfulness means that I will light a candle. I have my yoga mat right here on the floor. You can see in my office right here.
Mhm.
And I play a 10-minute gratitude meditation, and I just do a couple yoga poses while listening to the meditation. So it's kind of like I feel like I'm getting meditation and stretch. I like to just do I like twofers, get twice as
Mhm.
much done.
Little twofer,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but I will do it actually. I try to do it more proactively. So, one thing that I'm learning through this project and all this research is that oftentimes we wait for the signal is when it's almost like too late. Like
Mm.
it's like we're in the red. We forgot our charger. Now we're trying to borrow a stranger's. We're running around trying to find the plug in the train station under the thing, under the chair, or whatever. Like we wait until it's too late. So for me, I've been having a lot more honest conversations around my calendar. So when I look, it's Monday for today, looking ahead, there's like 3 meetings I have where I'm like, I know that's going to be a doozy. I'm not attracting negative. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm not trying to like visualize it being bad. I just know historically it tends to be a little more challenging than the average meeting. And so I carved out time in my calendar. I just did a little alarm 15 minutes before each one of those to sort of not just do it, but do it with intention at the right time so that I can hopefully go into this meeting with one of my like vendor partners with a little more zen, a little more understanding, and doubling down on those aspects we talked about, the empathy and the intuition, the adaptability. Those are our edge as humans, but it's easier said than done sometimes when you find yourself in those challenging situations, especially at the end of the week, right? Because energy can feel like a finite resource. We can feel like, we can't just go full Monday blast when it's Thursday or Friday. I mean, I can see even on my Whoop, my numbers go down. Monday, I'm full charge, and then I literally see it's like
Mhm.
the AT&T bars. By Friday, all my stats are like, we're hanging in there. Like
We're
we
doing
need
our
a minute.
best. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like really interesting, whether it's like journaling, being quiet, doing multitasking mindfulness, not just that we do it, but that we do our best to just like find those high stakes moments where we can really do it at the right time. So it can really serve us. Like I like to do it when right before I know I'll probably need it versus afterwards where you're already sort of in the red and now it's like you got to get back up again. So I think identifying those potential moments where you can be proactive, it's easier said than done, but not if you just do a little calendar review. I mean, the 1 or 2 moments of your week that you have to kind of,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
get geared up for, right? Like
Yeah.
you know what they're
Yeah.
going to be. You're not being negative; it's just real talk, right? So
Yeah.
then, so it's coming. So let's get a plan. Let's manage it.
It's funny that you say that, because that was one of the things that came out of my ER visit was I identified that whenever I get back from travel, that I will always have an anxiety attack within 24 hours of returning. Even
Mm.
if I'm high on life, super calm, everything goes great. And so I look at my calendar and I try and make sure that 48 hours when I get back is a light load. I have no calls.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my eating, drinking water. I've got everything in order because I know for sure I'm going to have an anxiety attack. I know it. I have a disorder. I know, but I didn't know that obviously going in. But I think that's a good reminder that calendar management, that preventative, looking forward at it instead of just feeling it in the moment. And feeling it in the moment's also okay, but the preventative piece of it is really, really important too. And no matter what, like, don't stray from it, because it's going to happen, right? So don't stray from it, because it's really important.
Yeah.
And it's being honest. I mean, okay, this time it's going to be different. Well, it might, or
it won't.
We can just keep it real and get a plan.
Right. Get a plan.
Here's what it is. Like, why do we have to judge it? Why do we have to judge? Why do I feel this way when I'm talking to this direct report? Or like, why do I dread this meeting with my boss? Or why? Who cares? You do. So make peace with it and get a plan.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I love that you do that as well. I think it's great.
Make peace and get a plan. All the nuggets, all the Erin nuggets for the day. Yeah. Okay. You just referenced your husband for a minute. And I feel like he and my husband may have the same grumpaluppagus feelings about social media sometimes.
Oh,
so can we, because you are so great on social media and you're so willing and vulnerable to share. So if you're not following Erin, you have to follow her on Instagram at a minimum. It's mrs.erin.king. Follow her. It's amazing. You'll get uplifted. You get some great principles and you'll giggle. But Scoot does not he'll be like, are you making content again? Get the camera away from me. So how do you do it with your husband? How do you handle that with him?
Well, it's funny because he detests social media with a vengeance. And yet whenever I put him on social media, my stats go through the roof because everyone loves him.
I do. It's crazy. Yeah.
They want what they can have, right?
Yeah.
So whenever he makes a cameo, literally my analytics go through the roof. So I think for him, his beef with social media, well, I ran an agency for 10 years. So, I started working in social media in the very beginning, before I knew what the implications of it was going to be. And it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago when I watched the Social Network or whatever, the Social Dilemma, the documentary where they had the puppet with the strings and they were pulling us. And I was watching it and I was like, oh shit, I don't want to be an advocate of this industry. I mean, yes, it's not inherently good or evil. It's how you use it. But in that moment, I just shut down. I was like, I didn't know it was going to be like this when I was an early days evangelist, like speaking on stages about social media 10 years ago. So I think the point is it's okay to change your mind. But we do have to listen when you get a black and white signal where something is so against what you believe to be true in a moral standpoint. And that's when I began transitioning into new topics, other topics. I kind of feel the same about AI a little bit. I was doing some AI talks and I was like, I don't know if AI needs me to help evangelize them. Like, yes, we experiment with it extensively. We have multiple AI systems set up across the enterprise. I use it every day in multiple ways. But does it need me to cheer it on? Probably not. I think humans need me to cheer them on. So I think getting to that place has been a whole journey. So Hartman has seen the journey. So he's like, it's bad. It's a waste of time. Who cares? Let's be present. He wants everyone to he wants everyone to get flip phones, which I think is actually a really interesting idea.
Oh,
then we could all call, but we can't get on the internet. I think that was a nice sweet spot of the cell phone story, right? Emergencies, you're good. But other than that, you can't be scrolling. So if we could all just flip phones, that'd be great. But for him with the social media jam, the way I talk him down off the ledge is I'm always trying to make sure anytime that I'm spending on social media, there's a place people can go that is not social media. So we've been experimenting a lot with this platform called ManyChat. If you guys have heard of ManyChat before.
No.
ManyChat is when you're on social media and you see someone saying comment adventures in business. And you'll get this thing. And everyone comments adventures. You see everyone commenting the same word. Well, you can set up an AI automation that will DM that person and say, hey, send me your email and I'll send you something valuable like an ebook or a lead magnet. And now you're actually able to take someone who's engaging with you on social and automatically move them into your email list. So for me, it's if I'm going to be doing social media, do I have a plan to move them from social into an owned media space where I can serve them without the algorithm deciding when they do and do not get to hear what we're all working so hard on creating. So, so I think showing strategy behind the effort helps Hartman be okay, fine, but he's never going to be a super fan. So control the controllables, right? Don't waste your energy on it.
That's right. That's funny.
Yeah.
If we were to go back to talk to Erin as she's getting ready to leave and graduate from College Park, University of Maryland, and give that Erin, advice based on everything you know now. I'm going to ask the question in two parts. What advice would you give yourself? And then we're going to go back to when you first got into the speaking industry. What advice would you give yourself then? So kind of two parts to this question.
Well, can I answer the second one first? It's the easiest one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I truly believe, NSA is the National Speaker Association. Mandy, are you a member of NSA?
I'm not. I should be.
Okay.
No, I should be.
You should jump in with us. That's where I saw you last in person. Amani was in, where were we? It was high as heck. Orlando.
Yes.
No offense, Orlando people. All right. So we were there in July. That's probably why. And anyway, so being in that industry, there are so many talented voices and so many incredible storytellers, wonderful presenters. They are such dynamos on stage, but they never achieve the level of success that you see some of these other, social media, Instagram personalities have all these followers, make all this money, and they don't have the same platform skills. The only difference with people who really explode their speaking business faster and those who don't are those who, when they're first starting out speaking, if you can decide, like, as best you can, you're allowed to change your mind. I did a million times, but it is trickier. If you can pick one topic that you have experience in, that you're an expert in, that you love, that people need, if you can find a way, just to figure out what it is as soon as possible and then just stay with it. I mean, branding is boring. Branding is so boring. Branding is hanging in there with the one thing, as long as it's not putting you in the hospital or you have moral obligation, like moral, problem with it. I mean, it's something that you like, that you're good at, that people need. If you can find a way to fall in love with it over and over again, like a long marriage, right? Like you can find a way to re-fall back in love with that topic. The ones that explode are not better speakers. They just owned their space and didn't waver from it. They put their stake in the ground and stuck with it. And I can give you 100 examples of people like that. Phil Jones, Kendra Hall, there's a million of these speakers where they picked their topic, they became known for it, and then they just moved on. So I think the tricky thing is for a lot of us speakers, and that takes discipline, by the way. Both of them, I'm sure, have had other topics that are interesting to them, ways they want to go, because we're creatives. We're interested in so many things, right? Like that we're like Liz Gilbert, big magic, right? Like we love the process of the creating, not even the outcome half the time. We enjoy the making of it. And so if you can find a way to nail it out the gates, if you can find a way to stick with it and find discipline. It took me a bunch of different topics. There she is, Liz Gilbert. That's a great book, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it took me digital persuasion, AI, sales. I finally found what my topic is that's congruent with who I am, my lived experience, and what people need. And now it's like, I'm off to the races. Like, this is my life's work. I'm crystal clear because I'm passionate about it and I believe in it. So, if you can really just do that work as early as possible, it's easier said than done, I know, but I wish someone had told me that when I started speaking 7 years ago, whatever it was. And then, so that's a long answer. But then,
good answer. It's a good answer.
Yeah, I'm envious of people who figured it out as soon as. It's kind of like when you're in college and it's like, declare your major, right? And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. It's like so many options, but people that really started their first job in the industry and you just experience so much more success. It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not exciting, but it sure is strategic as hell. And it works.
Yeah.
So if you're stoked on the creating, then go all over the place. But if you really do have your eye on a particular fiscal goal or an impact goal or a reach goal, that's the fastest way to get there. So I wish someone had told me that. So I think for younger me, what age younger, college?
21. Graduated from 21, 22, 23. Yes. Right when you first got your first sales job and they were all mean to you except the one, I forget her name, the one woman who took you around and kind of showed you the ropes.
Kim.
Yes.
Who's still one of my best friends. I just talked to her yesterday. 23 years of friendship. I would say that probably for me, I didn't really understand that making lots of money isn't as important as keeping lots of money. Like,
Okay.
I've always been really good at making money my whole career. Like, even when I first started out, like, I was number one salesperson in the country for Fox News and all this stuff. I've always been great at generating revenue, but I think I just wish in college and high school they would teach us more about, like, just because you're making tons of money doesn't mean that you're keeping lots of money. So I wish someone would have explained to me, like, now I know it now. Obviously, I'm 41, so I learned this probably 10 years ago. But 20 to 30, I just I didn't understand that, like, that revenue wasn't profit,
Mm.
right? So, like,
Mm.
so I would have liked that lesson from like 20 to 30. That would have been, I think I'd be a little further along on the retirement account. But yeah, I think other than that, I feel pretty good about the advice I did receive in my 20s that I ran with, which was my dad. And he was like, look, he's like, if you don't know what you want to do or who you want to be, just learn how to sell and you'll always be fine. You learn,
Mm.
if you know how to sell, you'll
Yeah.
always survive.
Good advice,
So,
Dad.
yeah.
Really good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mandy, I'll let
So,
you take us home.
Well, I just want to know, with this new keynote that you have and with this new ambition, how can we support you? How can we lift you up? You are such an advocate for supporting other people and lifting other people up. How can we support you and lift you up?
oh, well, this was so fun. I mean, even just talking through like a lot of the material and the concepts that I have, pages and pages of the new book. And so it's really helpful just to kind of brainstorm and talk through with professionals in the industry like both of you. So
Mhm.
I think this has been great. This is a great support. Um, I really do think that energy management is the new time management.
Mhm.
So any meeting pro buddies that you have out there, I think that energy management is the new time management. So even though it's not a category on the Speakers Bureau box, doesn't mean it doesn't serve a
Not yet.
huge purpose,
Not
Should
yet.
be.
Not
Let's
right?
yet.
make it a category. Let's make it the
Yeah.
category. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe like supporting me in terms of when you talk to other meeting professionals, like, let's think about outside of the same old dusty topics full of buzzwords and stale male pale dudes. Let's talk about some fresh conversations, right? Just
Yeah.
because it's new doesn't mean it's scary. Like let's be in a little bit more of an offensive mindset and not always playing defense, right? Like let's try innovation, let's try ideas. Let's not always just be afraid of like sticking with the tried and true. I understand. I've worked in events my entire career. My agency was social media for live events. I had been in y'all's industry my entire career. Like, I've been on your side of the table. I've managed keynote speaker. I interview keynote speakers. I understand how high stakes it is. But I think if you have a trusted speaker who has a real pedigree and is not just a storyteller or a performer, make sure that you are taking a minute to say, like, can we try something new? Watch all their videos and know they're not gonna let you down, but it's okay to go outside, color outside the lines because we're in a time where there's a lot of coloring outside the lines. So, like, let's be brave about that. Let's be brave and step into that new future of events. So
Amen.
Energy
that's my TED
management
talk.
is the new
Yeah.
time management. I love it. I love
Love it.
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you very much for
So,
taking time out of your business show to
oh,
here with us. We're big advocates, big fans of yours, so keep doing you. And we just can't wait to see what happens next and to support you in all the new keynotes and new speeches and
ah.
everything you do. Yeah.
Thank you, Imani. Thank you, Mandy. Both of you are doing such great work. And there's a reason why you're so hyper connected and so successful because you're showing up, you're serving, you're doing it right, you're bringing your A game. And I see both of you and appreciate you. So thank you for this conversation today.
Aw, thank you. We loved having you.
All right, we're gonna put you back in the green room. So round of applause really quickly here. Yes. Awesome.
Jazz
Awesome.
hands for Aaron. Jazz hands for Aaron.
Yeah, tremendous, tremendous. Mandy, what do we have to look forward to next week?
Next week, we've got the confidence coach. We have Scott Ballard, who works with a lot of high performing CEOs, a lot of entrepreneurs on business coaching, just straight up business coaching. And I think he's going to be excellent.
Okay, we love it. Shout out to Tom Griggs, who was in the audience. Thank you for
Hi,
tuning in.
Tom.
Tom.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Laura, for commenting. And remember, if you're listening to this, please make sure you subscribe and share the podcast with everyone. Give us a rating or review on the platform you're viewing or listening on. And with that, we will see everyone next week, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on the West. Stay safe, and we will see everyone soon.
See
Bye.
everybody soon. Bye.